Well, the one thing is we have jihadists being elected all over the place. We have this, whether it's communism, jihadism. When you look at the radicalism and the craziness of the candidates and the stupidity of what they're suggesting, let's get rid of the Supreme Court, let's get rid of the presidency, let's get rid of the Senate. They're people that have been, in many cases, failures. They come from other failed countries, and they come here and they tell us how to run our country. They're not smart. They have no aptitude. They have nothing going, and they're telling us how to run our country. Now, I may be wrong, but, they start off with a big disadvantage. People don't want to have radical lunatics involved in running our country. They want to defund our police. They want to terminate our military. No military. We don't want any military in our country.
Welcome back to the channel. In a press exchange, U.S. President Donald Trump addressed reporters to deliver sharp criticisms of his political opponents heading into upcoming midterm elections. Using intense rhetoric, he targeted Democratic candidates, questioned key political institutions, and criticized immigration policies, specifically singling out individuals from countries like Somalia. Moving beyond domestic politics, Trump also detailed U.S. military maneuvers in the Middle East, focusing on the Strait of Hormuz, and addressed media reports regarding his communications with economic officials. Let's dive into the conversation.
Mr. President, what recommendations do you have for Republicans, heading into midterms right now? And are Democrats, with the candidates they're putting forward, making life easier for
Well, the one thing is we have jihadists being elected all over the place. We have this, whether it's communism, jihadism. It's a friend of mine called up. He said, really, you should use the word jihadist because that's what's happening. And I'm not sure that anybody, if you take a look at what happens in other countries, I think that's not going to be necessarily the way we want to live. But when you look at the radicalism and the craziness of the candidates and the stupidity of what they're suggesting, let's get rid of the Supreme Court, let's get rid of the presidency, let's get rid of the Senate. They want to get, sometimes I'd like to get rid of the Senate too, but I don't say it, and I wouldn't do it. But, they want to get rid of the Senate. They want to get rid of, ideally, the House, but they're thinking about maybe keeping the House. Isn't that nice? These are people that have been not successful. They're people that have been, in many cases, failures. They come from other failed countries, and they come here and they tell us how to run our country. They come from places like, I won't mention because I don't want to get myself into a controversy, but they come from countries that are not great. They come from, let's say, as an example, Somalia. They come in and then they tell us how our Constitution, how our Declaration of Independence, how it works. It doesn't work that way, and they're not smart. They have no aptitude. They have nothing going, and they're telling us how to run our country. And I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that they start off, now I may be wrong, but they start off with a big disadvantage. People don't want to have radical lunatics involved in running our country, and that's what we have. We have people that are saying things that are so great. Now they're denying it, or they say, well, I've changed my mind. They want to defund our police. They want to terminate our military. No military. We don't want any military in our country. We don't want our police to be paid anymore. They want our police down to like almost nothing. It's like, doesn't make sense, right?
Mr. President, going back to the subject of Iran, sir, can you give us any estimate of when you think the Strait of Hormuz will be?
Well, it's open now. We're taking a lot of shit. It's open now. Look, the only one that has control of the Strait of Hormuz right now is the United States Navy. We have a blockade that's been infallible. It's a steel wall. And we let people in that we want to let in, and those people come in, and they've been coming in and they're going out. So it's actually open now. We do not let them go into Iran. They're not admitted into the Strait to go to Iran. But it's open for others. Now, a little bit complex because they will, on occasion, drop a mine, and we find the mines. We've mine swept the entire strait, as you probably maybe heard, maybe you didn't hear. But we control the strait 100%. Now, can they make trouble? Yeah, they can make trouble. But they're broke. They have no money. Iran is broke, totally broke. And they're not paying their soldiers. They have inflation of 300% as of last night. I heard 309%. So we'll see what happens. But they've been bad for, they say 47, it's actually 50 now. 47, they've been saying it for 3 years. But for 50 years, they've been the bully of the Middle East. What they've done is terrible. They've killed hundreds of thousands of people. They've killed people. They've wounded and maimed people with the legs, the arms. You know, with the roadside bomb is their bomb. They're very proud of it. And now they're paying a price. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Calling Chairman Warsh occasionally when you talk about
No, actually, the Wall Street Journal had a wrong story. He said I spoke to him. No, I have tremendous respect for Kevin Warsh. I've only spoken to him one time briefly a few days ago, just a conversation. Look, he's going to do it. He's going to run it. I know what he'd like to do, but he has to run it. He's got a board. It's not only him. If it was up to him, it would be different. But he's got a board. But I've only, they said I speak to him all the time. And I've spoken to him one time since his assumption, since he took over. And great conversation, but he's a great guy. He's my pick. And I'm going with him 100%. But they made it sound like I live and breathe. I speak to Kevin all the time, every time. I spoke to him one time. Okay, thank you very much.
Trump opened his comments by labeling political opponents as radical and referring to elected officials using terms like jihadists and communists. He argued that certain Democratic candidates hold extreme positions that put their party at a disadvantage with voters. He claimed these candidates advocate for removing core American institutions, specifically referencing the Supreme Court, the presidency, and the Senate, and criticized proposals related to reducing police funding and military spending. Expanding on his domestic political critique, Trump focused on immigration, arguing that individuals coming from other nations singling out Somalia should not dictate how the United States governs itself or interprets the Constitution. He characterized certain political opponents as lacking aptitude and claimed that their platform positions, such as altering police and military funding, would prove unpopular with voters as the nation approaches the midterm elections. If you are finding this breakdown insightful, please click the subscribe button to stay updated on our latest political analysis videos. Shifting to foreign policy, Trump addressed questions regarding tensions in the Middle East and the status of the Strait of Hormuz. He stated that the U.S. Navy maintains complete control over the waterway via a tight blockade. While describing the region as open to general maritime traffic, he emphasized that entry into Iran is strictly blocked. He noted that U.S. forces have conducted minesweeping operations to keep the shipping lanes secure. In his assessment of Iran, Trump described the nation as economically broken, citing severe inflation figures and an inability to pay its military personnel. He reflected on the region's 50-year history, pointing to roadside bombs and past regional conflicts, while asserting that current sanctions and blockades are impacting the Iranian economy heavily. Segment 5, Clarification on Federal Reserve Communications. To conclude his briefing, Trump responded to media reports regarding his contact with Federal Reserve Chairman Kevin Warsh. He clarified that contrary to press reports suggesting frequent communications, he had only spoken with Warsh once since he assumed his role. Trump expressed confidence in Warsh's leadership while acknowledging the independent board structure overseeing decisions. Trump's press remarks highlighted his primary campaign strategies ahead of the midterm elections, framing political opponents around radical policy shifts, taking a firm stance on border and immigration rhetoric, asserting U.S. naval dominance in the Middle East, and addressing news coverage regarding central economic leadership. If you enjoyed this breakdown, be sure to hit the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments below, and subscribe to the channel for more unbiased news coverage.